began in 1930. The world was still reeling from the aftermath of World War I, and football was rapidly growing into a global phenomenon. The Olympic Games had showcased the sport's popularity, but FIFA's vision went further. Jules Rimet, then president of FIFA, has had a bold idea: to create a standalone international tournament where nations would battle not for Olympic gold, but for the title of world champions in football. That vision became reality when Uruguay was chosen to host the very first FIFA World Cup. Only 13 teams participated, mostly from the Americas, with a few European nations making the long journey by sea. Uruguay, also celebrating its centenary of independence, won the inaugural tournament, defeating Argentina 4-2 in the final. A new era in sports had begun. The 1934 World Cup in Italy was a different affair. It marked the first time teams had to qualify, and it was also used by Mussolini's fascist regime as a propaganda tool. Italy won the tournament, and they would defend their title successfully in 1938 in France, under similarly controversial political circumstances. But just as the World Cup was gaining momentum, the Second World War erupted. The tournaments scheduled for 1942 and 1946 were cancelled. The world had other battles to fight. When the tournament returned in 1950, Brazil was the host, and expectations were sky high. The final game, played at the Maracanazo Stadium in front of nearly 200,000 fans, became one of the most shocking moments in football history. Uruguay, considered underdogs, beat Brazil 2-1 in what's now known as the Maracanazo. It was heartbreak for Brazil, but drama for the rest of the world in 1954, as the World Cup traveled to Switzerland and witnessed another underdog victory. West Germany defeated the mighty Hungarian team in what became known as the Miracle of Bern. Then came 1958 in Sweden, when the world was introduced to a 17-year-old prodigy named Pele. Brazil won their first title that year, and Pele would go on to become a global icon. They defended their crown in 1962 in Chile, proving their dominance. The 1966 World Cup, held in England, was historic for the host nation. England won its only World Cup title, thanks in large part to Geoff Hurst's hat-trick in the final against West Germany. Still the only hat-trick ever scored in a World Cup final, as in 1970, the tournament returned to Mexico and saw Brazil, led by Pelé, once again win their third title. That team is still considered one of the greatest football squads ever assembled. By 1974, the world was changing, and so was football, as the tournament in West Germany introduced a new trophy and showcased a Dutch team that brought total football to the world. But in the end, West Germany won the title on home soil. In 1978, Argentina hosted and won the tournament under the shadow of a military dictatorship, adding a controversial chapter to the event's history. The 1982 World Cup in Spain saw an expansion to 24 teams, and Italy emerged as champions, with striker Paolo Rossi becoming a national hero. In 1986, the tournament returned to Mexico, and a new king was crowned, Diego Maradona. His performance was legendary, as from the controversial hand of God to the breathtaking goal of the century against England, Maradona led Argentina to their second World Cup title. In 1990, the World Cup went to Italy. It was a defensively played tournament, but West Germany triumphed once again. Then came the 1994 World Cup in the United States, a major move by FIFA to globalize the sport. The tournament had record-breaking attendance, and Brazil lifted their fourth trophy after a penalty shootout win over Italy. By 1998, as the tournament expanded again, this time to 32 teams, hosted by France, it was a turning point. The French national team, led by Zinedine Zidane, has won their first World Cup on home soil, defeating Brazil in the final. The 2002 World Cup made history by being co-hosted by two nations for the first time, South Korea and Japan. Brazil, led by Ronaldo, won their fifth title, but it was also memorable for South Korea's surprising run to the semifinals. Germany hosted in 2006, as and Italy emerged victorious in a dramatic final that saw Zidane's infamous headbutt and a penalty shootout win. Then, in 2010, Africa hosted its first ever World Cup in South Africa. Spain, with its tiki-taka style, won its first title thanks to Andres Iniesta's extra-time goal in the final. The 2014 World Cup returned to Brazil. The hosts were favourites, but Germany humiliated them 7-1 in the semi-finals, a match that stunned the football world. Germany went on to beat Argentina in the final with a goal from Mario Götze. 4 years later, in 2018, Russia hosted the tournament. France, with a young and dynamic squad featuring Kylian Mbappé, defeated Croatia in a thrilling final to win their second title. Then came 2022. For the first time, the tournament was held in winter and in the Middle East, with Qatar as host. It was a controversial tournament from the start, but it delivered one of the most dramatic finals in World Cup history. Argentina and France went toe-to-toe in a 3-3 thriller that went to penalties. Lionel Messi, in what many believed to be his final World Cup, finally lifted the trophy, sealing his place as one of the greatest of all time. From 1930 to 2022, as the FIFA World Cup has evolved from a small tournament of just 13 teams to a global event watched by billions, it has seen legends rise, underdogs triumph, and entire nations united by a single ball. As we look ahead to 2026, as with the tournament expanding to 48 teams and hosted jointly by the United States, Canada, and Mexico, as one thing is clear, the story of the World Cup is far from over. This is more than football. This is history in motion. And the next chapter is just around the corner.